starting with our first panelist, Mr. Mike Timmermans and Jelle Knop. Mr. Mike Timmermans, who is the manager of the International Research and Innovation Cooperation at the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. In addition, he is the National Project Coordinator for the Netherlands in Eureka. He is going to talk about the Eureka Globalstars call tag and how to join the business matchmaking. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, Taiwan. Good morning, Europe, and a very early morning to our colleagues in Canada. I'm really pleased to welcome you today and introduce the second Globalstars call together. And I would like to thank the Department of Industrial Technology, ITRI, the NTIO, and our colleagues from Canada, Austria, and UK for organizing this event together. I'm pleased to organize and announce this second call, since the very first call was quite successful. It's really delivered some interesting projects. So let me introduce you Globalstars, which is part of the Eureka program. And Eureka is an international innovation cooperation network consisting of 48 members. So it's a huge network, and I was pleased to hear all the different languages in the introductory remarks this morning. 48 members, all focused on enhancing innovation cooperation between the members. Today we will talk about Globalstars, but Eureka also funds all kind of market-driven SME innovation cooperation projects, such as Eurostars, networking projects, and industrial cluster programs. The network is very bottom-up. That means that every applicant can actually decide on the focus of their own projects, and very market-driven. That means that we really encourage the projects to go to market early and deliver great impact. So that's actually, in short, the introduction of Eureka, and Globalstars is part of Eureka. And I would like to introduce you to my colleague, Jelle Knop, who is going to present about the Globalstars program. Jelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for the introduction as well. So today I will be explaining a little bit more about Eureka Globalstars program shortly in general, but then also about this call specifically to explain what is needed, what is required, and what is intended with this Globalstars call. So as explained before, Globalstars is a Eureka program and is aimed at promoting international innovation cooperation between Eureka members. But also the Globalstars program is really intended to also reach other innovative markets outside of the network. And this is such an example. So through Globalstars, we try to stimulate joint industrial market-oriented R&D projects, mainly of SMEs, but also of other corporations and research institutes. They're also invited to join Globalstars calls. Globalstars has joint calls. So the calls are made up of 1+1 or even more participating economies. And important is to realize that each funding body funds their own applicant. So the proposal is submitted internationally, but the funding is funded through the funding bodies. So the funding bodies, Globalstars is executed by the funding bodies in the field of innovation, economic development, and business support. And the core characteristics, so to say, of Globalstars is that the funding bodies together decide on common evaluation criteria. So it's really jointly managed, so that is the same for every applicant. There is a common launch of a call for project ideas, which has been done already. And there are synchronized application deadlines to really together build on a nice project. And this is all intended to pool resources together so that their eventually projects reach a critical mass to actually make the projects a big success. As mentioned before, this call with Taiwan is not the first Globalstars call that has been launched. There has been one back in 2018. And as described before, this was mainly on the field of photonics. And the participating funding organizations back then were France, Denmark, Belgium, and the Netherlands. There were 10 applicants submitted. I have now here 6 were approved. I heard before that there were 5. It's either 5 or 6, but as you can see, the approval rate is quite high. And to illustrate what a Globalstars project in 2018 would look like, to give you an idea of a project that is typical for Globalstars, is a project on the development of a fiber optic low frequency accelerometer or tilt meter. This was a project conducted by a partnership between SITPO Technologies from Taiwan and Somnai Corporation and TNO from the Netherlands. And together they built or they worked on a project, an R&D project, to develop a low frequency vibration sensor. And this is really in order to be able to censor the quality of construction work, so buildings, but also infrastructure after, for instance, an earthquake. This is really relevant for Taiwan, of course, but also in the Netherlands. This is a relevant innovation that could really reach a global market eventually. So the total project cost of this project were 540,000 euros, and the duration was 31 months. And this information is just to illustrate what a Globalstars project could look like. Of course, we now have a new call, and also, as mentioned before, the team has been broadened, and also the funding bodies have been extended. So the Globalstars call this year in 2021 is a collaboration between the funding organizations of Austria, Canada, the UK, the Netherlands, and of course Taiwan. And as mentioned before, the team has been broadened. So in addition to the high-tech technologies such as the field of semiconductors and photonics, there's now also cybersecurity and smart manufacturing that is eligible for funding through this call, but also topics in the field of circular economy, so technology for the use of upcycling or recycling of materials, to develop digital platforms in order to boost circular economy, but also the development of bio-based materials or resource recovery from industrial processes. Now all fit within this Globalstars call. So this is really intended to reach a broader field of interest, so more of you can apply, and hopefully this will lead to more interesting and broader R&D projects within this call. So a little bit more about the application process. There's a lot of text on this slide, but I will guide you through it. A Globalstars application process all starts with a Globalstars idea. So together the funding organizations decided on the selection of topics, and also together decided on the selection of participating economies. And then a call is launched on a date, and this has been for this call the 13th of September. And then after this, so from this webinar onwards, participants or potential participants are really encouraged to discuss a project idea with their funding bodies. So we as funding bodies can really help you, assist you with discussing your project idea, see if it's a good fit with the call, see if it's innovative, if it's resulting in impact, and all those things that are considered important for a Globalstars call. Discuss them with your funding body beforehand, and we can really assist you in that. And afterwards, you can work on writing a proposal and submit it through an online platform before the deadline of the call, which is set at the 15th of December 2021. After the deadline, of course, the projects have to be evaluated, and this is done by the funding bodies themselves. So this is roughly 4 months after the deadline of the call, and it's based on the national funding proposal and a common project form. And so each funding body evaluates their own proposals, but then of course the funding bodies together have to come to a certain consensus, and this is done in a consensus meeting after roughly 8 months after the call deadline, where all participating economies evaluate all projects, and if they are all positive about the project, it receives a go. Depending on the available budget. So there's a ranking. The best projects are first to go for the budget. And then a project will receive a Eureka label, and move on to actual project start. So this is roughly the timeline of an application, and I will now tell you a little bit more about how you can apply. But first, if you would be interested in applying, but you don't yet have a partner to work with, we set up an online platform. It's on the B2Match platform, and it's a website where you can go to and you can upload a profile explaining who you are, what you offer for another interested party, what you are looking for yourself that you are lacking in your innovation. And really, this is where you can do the matchmaking with another potential interested party. So if you would be interested in applying for a Globalstar scope, but you don't yet have a partner that you can apply with, go to the website, upload the profile, and really start working from there. We can set up one-on-one matchmaking. We can send profiles. We can really assist you with the matchmaking. And if you're still in doubt, please contact your own Europe Enterprise Network office, because they can really assist you further in making a good match between you and a potential partner. If hopefully you have built up a nice consortium that is eligible for funding, you of course have to apply, you have to submit an application. And there's an international deadline for the international part that you jointly build and work on with your consortium. And the deadline is, as mentioned before, on the 15th of December, and you have to upload or you have to submit a proposal through the Smart Simple platform from Eureka. So it's online on a website, and then you can log in, create a profile, and really jointly work on your proposal together. So this is all for the international part. This is what you have to submit internationally. But then in addition to that, each individual participant has to submit also a proposal to their own funding body. So the international deadline is set at the 15th of December, but then each funding body has their own deadlines, and we will get back to the deadlines and also the requirements for each funding body later in a later stage on this webinar. But you can already here see the deadlines for each funding body in the table below. But this is really important to realize, that you have to submit a proposal through the Smart Simple platform, but also to your own funding body, adhering to the rules that apply in that economy. After submission, of course, each project has to be evaluated. And first of all, there is an international check if the application complies with the call text. So if it adheres to all the criteria that have been set by all funding bodies. So there should be at least one company involved in the project from Taiwan and one from a different Eureka member. They should be independent from each other, and there are some rules about independency. The maximum duration of a project is 36 months, and no partner or participating economy can claim more than 70% of eligible costs. And this is to ensure that it's no one party that is really doing all the work and one is just there to fill up the consortium. It really should be a joint effort to collaboratively work on R&D. A project should have a civilian purpose, so military projects are excluded. And then if the international check is fine, if the project adheres to the international criteria, the evaluation, as mentioned before, is carried out by the funding bodies themselves. They also do a check for criteria, but this time this check is for the national criteria that are set by each funding body. So this is also checked, and then the funding body evaluates the content of the proposal on several Eureka criteria. So reviewers are looking at the impact of a project, looking at the excellence in terms of innovative value. They look at the quality and efficiency of the planning, of the cost structure, and an overall perception, really to just emphasize if the project really feels like a good project worth spending money on. After this is done by the funding bodies, they all come together in a consensus meeting with representatives of the funding bodies and all the peer reviewers. And this is really where each funding body discuss what they thought were the best projects and if they agree with other funding bodies. And then together they come to consensus to really say, this is the best project, this was second best, and so on and so on. And then funding is administered in accordance with that ranking. This was in very brief how the Global Stars call looks like in general. There are some important dates to keep in mind. So the first one already passed was on the 13th of September 2021. There was the opening of this Global Stars Eureka call. And then on the deadline to submit the international application is on the 15th of December 2021. So that's the closing of the Eureka call. Then after a couple of months, in March 2022, the funding bodies have reviewed all the proposals and come together for the consensus meeting to give projects a go or a no-go. And shortly after, in April 2022, applicants are informed about this decision. Then projects have to undergo a labeling process to really receive and obtain a Eureka label, and this is required for receiving funding, which happens after in July 2022, when the funding contracts are signed and the projects can actually start. So to wrap up, this was in very brief the process, but I can surely imagine that you have more questions that you want to pose. We can do them later in the Q&A, but also please contact your funding body yourself to discuss your project idea, to discuss funding requirements, and really they can really assist you with going further in this Global Stars call. Please take a look at the virtual marketplace at B2Match, where really you can online find partners and find partnerships that are worth pursuing. And if you're looking for more information, the call text and guidelines are posted on the Eureka Network website. And of course, the submission portal of the Eureka application is on the Smart Simple website. So with that, I would like to finish and later on maybe have the time for some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timmermans and Mr. Jelle Knop, for sharing the detailed information of Eureka Globalstars. For our next panelist, let's welcome Mrs. Cleo Hsueh, the Account Manager of Industrial Technology Research Institute, Taiwan. She is currently on behalf of Hsueh and is in charge of Eureka Globalstars Taiwan call. We will talk about the application procedure in Taiwan. Mrs. Hsueh, the stage is yours.
Okay, so hi everyone, it's Cleo from ITRI. On behalf of DOIT, I'm here to talk about how Eureka Globalstars works in Taiwan. Next. First, I will introduce the funding agency in Taiwan, DOIT. Second, the funding A+ program. And last, how to apply for it and the procedure. Next, please. Next. In a nutshell, DOIT, Department of Industrial Technology, is the funding agency in Taiwan. It is a governmental agency under Ministry of Economic Affairs, aiming to advance cutting-edge and industrial technologies and facilitate innovation cooperation between companies and countries through supporting policies and programs. Next. And next. In 2014, DOIT kickstarted the A+ Industrial Innovation R&D program. There are different types of A+ programs, encouraging R&D activities. Under the special programs, one called International Innovation and R&D Collaboration Program was set up especially for encouraging Taiwanese companies to form international innovation partnerships with foreign counterparts. Next, please. Currently, the program funds collaboration between Taiwanese companies and the European companies, like cooperation between Taiwan, Israel, Taiwan, Germany, Taiwan, Czech, and Taiwan, Spain, and some other European multilateral ones. and the subsidy can be up to 50% of the project budget. Next, please. Sometimes companies tell us that they don't know whether they are qualified for the program. They ask questions like how much money they can get and how long the project is. For qualification, as long as your company is a legally registered a company in Taiwan, not a Chinese founded, and without a poor credit history, you can apply for it. Second, there is no cap for the grant, but it can only be up to 50% of the project budget. And the last, usually the project lasts for 3 years, and it starts from August 2022. Next, here is some information about the Taiwan Code, and all the information has been covered in Abio's presentation. So I won't spend too much time here. The code is open from 13th of September to 15th of December. The deadline for the DOIT A+ program is 15th of January 2022. Fields of cooperation are high-tech and the circular economy. This time we have Taiwan, the Netherlands, the UK, Canada, and Austria to join the code. Next. For the fund, only companies are eligible, and the grant can be up to 50% of the project, as mentioned many times, and there is no cap for the grant. After finishing application with your foreign partner on Eureka's website, Taiwanese companies need to submit the required documents to DOIT for applying for the A+ program before 15th of January, 5 p.m. Taiwan time. Taiwanese participants have a little more time to prepare for the application. If you need more information, you are welcome to contact me. Next. Finally, I'm going to talk about the procedure. So for Taiwanese companies, first you have to find a partner from any of the 4 countries. It's the best that you already have a partner. If you don't, you can register on the Matchmaking website to find a partner. After that, you and your partner need to complete a proposal on Eureka's website. And last, you apply for the A+ program in Taiwan. Okay, next one. The final slide, procedure and dates. The code is open from 13th of September to 15th of December. I have talked about them for so many times, so I think you may have remembered them. Okay, and before 15th of December, Taiwanese applicants and your foreign partners have to complete application on Eureka's website. After that, you need to submit the Eureka proposal and the required document to DOIT before 15th of January 2022. Once your project is acknowledged in the consensus meeting on 24th of March next year, you can get funding from it's DOIT from 1st of April to 31st of July. The review committee will review the projects and decide how much money your company will get. And the project starts from 1st of August 2022. Okay, so that's the procedure of the whole Eureka application and also A+ program. So think a lot.
Thank you for the informative sharing, Mrs. Hsueh. After taking a glance of how to apply from Taiwan, I believe that participants from different countries are feeling quite excited to understand the procedures from your countries. Hence, please let us welcome our third panelist, Mrs. Ines Marinkovic, to deliver the procedure for Austrian applicants. Mrs. Marinkovic is a program manager at the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, FFG. She is Eureka MPC, and together with Dr. Michael Feisch, responsible for Globalstars Call with Taiwan. She was Eureka MPC chairperson during the Austrian Eureka chairmanship between 2020 to 2021. Ma'am, please have the stage.
Thank you very much, Amber. Many thanks. Good morning and good afternoon to dear colleagues around the world, I would say. Many thanks also to my colleagues in the Netherlands, in Taiwan, Canada and UK for jointly organizing this event. Very much appreciated. What I'm going to do, I will give you to our listeners some basic information how funding is for this Eureka Globalstars call with Taiwan is organized and regulated in Austria. As it was already mentioned, in addition to Eureka application, Austrian participants must submit a separate national full project proposal, including the Eureka application. And in Austria, Eureka projects can be submitted to the general program of FFG for funding, Basisprogramm. So basically all companies registered in Austria are eligible for funding under the general program. Universities and research centers can be only subcontracted. Of course, the project must fulfill national criteria. All projects are assessed in terms of technical economic aspects for funding, so technical quality, commercial exploitation, feasibility, relevance to the program. You can find here the links that will direct you to really detailed information in English and both in English and German related to the Basisprogramm, so general program. Basically, what it means for the funding availability, this program offers up to 60% of eligible costs for small companies in Austria, 50% for medium-sized companies, and up to 40% for large companies. As I already said, universities and research organizations may be subcontracted. In general, there is no dedicated budget at FFG for this call. So open budgets and also projects of all sizes are accepted. Related to the deadline, it was already mentioned in Austria, it is the 20th of December for submission of the national proposal. Here also the link to more information on this. So maybe just a few words. Also, it was already mentioned, Enterprise Europe Network is always a good address to find a partner. Also, as it was mentioned, the B2Match website that was prepared here is a good address. When it comes to Austrian partners, also, of course, via the Advantage Austria office in Taipei. So, in the next slide, here you have the contact details. Michael Weich and myself, as Eureka MPCs in Austria, are at disposal for any further questions when it comes to Austrian participants. So thank you very much. This would be in brief.
Thank you once again for sharing, ma'am. The next panelist would be Mr. Jelle Knop, talk about the procedures of Netherlands and Canada. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amber. So yeah, I will briefly explain the procedures that apply for the Netherlands. And since it is in the middle of the night for Canada, I will also explain briefly what Canadian applicants should look for. So funding in the Netherlands, through this Globalstars call, we can fund SMEs, large companies and research organizations and universities. And we divide the funding can be different for eligible costs for research and development. I won't read all the percentages there, but you can see those numbers. We have a maximum grant of 350,000 euros per project. And the total call, the budget for the call is 925k in euros. A company should be a main applicant. So even though research organizations and universities are eligible for funding in the Netherlands, the main applicant should be a company, and only R&D related costs are eligible for funding in the Netherlands. If you want to apply for this Globalstars call in the Netherlands, you have to do it online in an application form using e-herkenning 3. We require a copy of the signed Eureka application form, a detailed overview of the Netherlands project costs, a public summary aimed for the public, and also a signed consortium agreement, although this consortium agreement can be submitted later at a later time point, but before start of the project. The deadline for our national application is the 21st of December at 5 o'clock Central European time. And if you're looking for more information about the Netherlands part of the call, please refer to the RVO website for Globalstars or apply through Mijn RVO. If you're looking for more information, the contact person is Arnold Meijer, and you can look up his internet or his email below. So that is for the Netherlands. And now moving on to Canada. So I will briefly explain the rules that apply for Canadian applicants for this Globalstars 2021 Taiwan call. But please, if you have more questions, I refer to the National Research Council in Canada or their website or contact persons, Eric Holden. So first of all, the deadlines that apply for Canadian applicants. In Canada, you have to register before the November 8th in order to become eligible for Globalstars funding. It's necessary to be on board for IRAP clients and provide preliminary advice. And then also you have to provide an expression of interest before November 15th. And this is really to get an early indication of eligibility before you start actually writing the proposal. It's nice to be aware of your eligibility, and also it's required to allow for access for a national funding application. Then of course the international consortium, the Eureka proposal, has to be handed in before December 15th, 5 o'clock Brussels time, and then the Canadian deadline for a funding proposal is on January 5th, 2022. In order to be eligible for funding in Canada, a Canadian applicant must be an incorporated, profit-oriented, small or medium-sized business based in Canada. It must have 500 or fewer FTE employees. It must pursue growth and profit by developing and commercializing innovative, technology-driven, new or improved products, services, or processes in Canada. Canadian applicants must have a differentiated and protectable technology that could become competitive in global markets. Canadian applicants must have sufficient working capital and resource to undertake a multi-year R&D collaboration and commercialize the results. And finally, they must be committed to significant growth through international market expansion. So these are eligibility criteria, but in addition, Canada also has some preference they expressed. So a preference for this Globalstars call may be given to applicants, SME applicants, who have a minimum of 15 FTE employees, have commercialized one or more products domestically or internationally, and finally have greater than 500k Canadian dollar in annual revenue. So these are preferences, not necessarily requirements. So if you are below one of these thresholds, please contact NRC in Canada, your industrial technology advisor, to really discuss with them how you should take care of certain thresholds that are not met, and if you are still eligible for funding in Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now let's welcome our last panelist, Mr. Ben Morris, to the stage. Mr. Morris is the program manager for Eureka Eurostars. He has been with the Innovate UK since early 2015, where he has started as the information manager. Since then, Mr. Morris has had various operational roles, including head of Brexit contingency before taking over his current role in 2019. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for organising this webinar for applications into the Globalstars competition. So, similar to other countries, we all have our own similar scope. The Innovate UK, part of United Kingdom Research Innovation, we are investing £865,000, similar to the euro amounts of other countries, into projects based on this program. We will fund projects to enable industrial digital companies to access and collaborate with new markets in Taiwan, and your project must be high market potential and develop at least one of the following. So you can see innovative products, technology-based applications and services. Projects must include, as other countries have mentioned, a UK partner and Taiwan, and obviously we can collaborate with other countries from within the network. Projects must have at least 50% match funding, co-investment in place, and in applying to the competition, you're entering into a competitive process. And as other speakers have mentioned, it will be ranked and a consensus meeting will be held to see where we will fund projects. The lead applicant from the UK, if they are the lead applicant, will submit their application on our Innovation Funding Service platform by 4 p.m. UK time as the deadline stated. The project team must submit the Eureka application on the Smart Simple platform by 5 p.m. Central European time, 4 p.m. UK time on the 15th of December. So for eligibility and scope, UK applicants can apply for a total grant of £300,000 each project. Your project must or can start by the 1st of August 2022 and end by the 31st of July 2024 and last from 3 to 24 months. It must be a collaborative project, and if your project duration falls outside this eligibility criteria, please contact us at that address there and 10 working days before the competition closes, and we will make a decision on your request. The funding that we've allocated, as we said there, is £865,000 for the competition, and for feasibility studies and industrial research projects, you may get funding for the eligible project costs. If you're an SME, up to 50% of your costs. If you're a large organisation, 40% of the costs. Must have a minimum, as we said previously, of 50% co-investment, and UK registered research organisations can share up to 50% of the total eligible project costs. If your consortium contains more than one UK research organisation, this maximum will be shared between them. Of the 50% of the cost, you can get funded up to 80% of full economic costs if you are on the JES registered platform, such as an academic institution, and 100% of your eligible project costs if you're an RTO, charity, non-profit organisation or public sector organisation. The link at the bottom of the page there will give you the full details of the Innovate UK application process, where to apply, and all the eligibility and scope information. Those are my contact details there. If you've got any for UK participants and from other participants around the network, if you've got questions on the scope and eligibility of the process of the UK application process, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have sort of concluded with our panelists now. Followed by our Q&A section, we are pleased to invite all of our panelists to join us with attendees to give some replies to the comments. Take a look at the inquiries. So the first question is, in order to join this Eureka Globalstars call, this one Taiwanese company should join the project proposal. Is it also possible to have multiple companies join? Like, for example, from Taiwan and other countries, or companies from the Eureka members, like UK, Netherlands, Austria, and Canada. I believe that this question goes to Mr. Timmermans or Mr. Knop, maybe.
Yeah, I can answer that question. Yes, it is allowed to have multiple partners involved from the same economy or same member. The thing is that then some countries have a maximum funding amount in place, and then that funding amount is shared between the multiple participants. But yes, it is allowed.
Okay, thank you, sir. And hopefully this answer your concern. And do we have the second question? Yeah. Okay. This question is from the UK. Okay. So at the moment, I can see that most of the Taiwanese companies registered on the matching website, which is B2Match, are in the cybersecurity or IT sectors. Is ITRI able to assist with the matching process to connect Eureka members to the Taiwanese company in other sectors, for example, smart manufacturing and industrial processes? I think that this question should be answered by Mr. Ben Morris.
Yes, so each country will have its access to the EEN network, which is a good place to start for matchmaking capabilities. The platform that Jelle mentioned earlier is also a good place. So from the point of view of Innovate UK, the Innovate UK Edge is the organization that can help facilitate match-to-match matching for your company with the Taiwanese companies.
Okay. Can I invite Mr. and Mrs. Cleo Hsueh to answer this question as well?
Okay, so actually, ITRI has some connections with local associations. So if you know some companies, maybe in the smart manufacturing field, or maybe maybe cybersecurity industry, then you can contact us. We can try to contact our connections in Taiwan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. So do we have other questions? Okay, we have got our third question, which is, aside funding, will there be other kinds of support to make the project a success as when they are approved? For example, by the funding agencies and other, like by the representative offices in Taiwan. May I invite Mr. Knop to answer this question as well?
Let me see. Aside funding, will there be other kinds of support to make the project a success? Yeah, we can always so funding bodies are always willing to discuss project ideas. And also, if you are running a project and you have, for instance, a delay coming up or something, or you anticipate, please, as soon as possible, contact your funding body, because they are willing to think along with you about maybe other deadlines, or really try to make it work for you to pursue the project as well. And if you encounter anything or you need any additional help, just contact your funding body. But this is most likely going to be a specific question in a specific project upcoming. So this is quite difficult to answer broadly, but the bottom line is really we're always here to help. So the funding bodies are always willing to think along. So contact us. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully this also answered the question. And I can see that there is another question is, who would be the best contact from ITRI for industrial connections in Taiwan? And I assume that this question must go to Mrs. Cleo.
Okay, so actually you can just contact me directly, and I think it will be really easy for you to find my contact information on the matchmaking website. Okay, so the contact person from ITRI is me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you once again. And the number 5 question is, what is the timeline of project approval for projects from the Netherlands? Is it similar to the Taiwanese timeline of deadline in December 2021 and potential project approval in July 2022? And may I invite Mr. Knop again?
Yeah, I expected this one. Yeah, so the deadline for the Eureka submission is the 15th of December, and then 6 days after, so the 21st of December 2021 is the deadline for the national funding application. And so afterwards, all the funding bodies, as mentioned before in the consensus meeting, come together after evaluation. So yeah, so the deadline for RVO is the 21st of December, and then afterwards the approval and the funding is in line with other economies, and it's indeed expected somewhere around July 2022.
Okay, and may I invite Mr. Ben Morris to make a comment, please?
Thank you. It's just to reiterate on the question regarding support. From the UK perspective, we monitor projects, and so do other countries. They monitor their projects. From a UK perspective, we do it quarterly. So if there are any ways to help out during the progress of the project, then we will make interventions with the project at that point. There's also the capability from within the project to make changes, which is an agreed process between the partner countries at the contact level. So throughout the duration of the project, there's always someone there to guide you through the process and help you with the project. And if it means that your scope needs to change, we can also address that situation as well. But there is always support there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have other questions? And any comments that you would like to make? Oh, we got a new one. So what is the expected reporting load expected from the project partners? For example, like yearly reporting to funding agency, or only a final report at the end of the project timeline? Okay. I invite Mr. Knop to answer this question again.
Because it's also a Dutch party, right? No, there are intermediate, as Ben also explained for the UK, they have quarterly, we have half-yearly checkups where reports are required. So there are some steps in between, and then indeed at the end there's a final report required where we have a vaststelling for this for the funding as well. So it's not that bad, but we definitely during the project also expect some paperwork and some updates on our side.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank
Yeah, of course, please.
Thank you. Related to this question and reporting load, maybe just to mention that in Austria, funding in Austria is provided on annual basis only. So therefore, follow-on applications must be submitted for a maximum duration of 3 years. And this also may be connected to the first question that was raised related to multiple companies from a country. Maybe to mention that in Austria, this is for sure possible. However, each company, of course, has to submit own proposal to FFG to this basic program. And in Austria, it's maybe a bit easier because the budget is open and not limited. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I got another question. In line with previous question, can you give an example of successful outcome related to a joint proposal after 2 to 3 years? Okay, so this question should go to Mrs. Cleo from ITRI. Mrs. Cleo, can you help us to answer this question?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, completely.
Okay, so actually we launched the first code in 2018, and actually from that time we have several companies still working with companies from the Netherlands, and actually we have like quarterly review regarding their some new updates, and I think it's quite successful for that's code, because actually these companies, they have established some basic foundation together, and some companies also express that they are willing to continue this kind of projects. So we are really looking forward to this new code. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we
If I
got?
could make a comment on that
Of
as
course.
well. So as Mike mentioned at the start of the brief of the whole ethos of the program, the Global Stars program, in fact, most of the Eureka funding streams is all about getting innovation to market fairly quickly. So from a point of view of exploitation, we would expect as a program 2 years post project that the innovation is being exploited and the R&D is being further developed and sold as a into the marketplace. So it's the whole program is about getting innovation to market fairly quickly.
Okay, I think that we have received all the questions. Do we got other questions from the? Okay, we got another question. Is demonstration also a possible part of this project? May I invite Mr. Knop to answer this?
Maybe refer further to Ben, because he has been around for much longer and he's much more likely to provide an excellent explanation for this, I bet.
Okay, brilliant. Can I invite Mr. Ben Morris to?
So from the point of view of the project, the scope that we've kind of got together as a network is that for the collaborative R&D, it must demonstrate that it's a game-changing, disruptive, innovative idea. It's strong deliverables in the business plan. It addresses, market potential needs, sound practical financial plans from within the timelines, good value for money, clear evidence based on the plan to deliver significant economic impact. The benefit of the participants from countries working together is adding this value, and a clear definition of where the IP can be used and shared between the participants. So it's not really about the demonstrator, because that's more proof of concept type ideas. As I mentioned, it's about getting the idea to market fairly quickly. From a guideline, and as other speakers have mentioned, it's not a must, but we would recommend from the UK that projects are at TRL 4 by the time the submission is ended or closes, to perhaps 2 years post project get to TRL 8 or 9. And that's a guideline. It's not a specific requirement, mandatory requirement. However, when you go through the national application process, getting your idea into that journey to map the application, if you can demonstrate that to the evaluators, then that's the key thing. So from a point of view of a demonstrator project, I would say perhaps not, but certainly from the point of view of a project that starts at TRL 4 to progress to TRL 8, 9, 2 years post project is probably a good guide to how to perhaps benchmark your project.
Okay, thank you, sir. So Is the recorded video of this presentation going to be available online? I think, yeah, I can answer this question. Yes, this recorded video will be online after this session ends. So, thank you so much for all our special guests and panel speakers, and thank you so much for participating. And of course, the audience online, thank you so much for attending the information session of Eureka Globalstars program. Before we end this program, may I invite all the panelists to join us on the stage and open your camera to take a group photo with us. Yeah, I think we got all of the people. Thank you very much, and we have taken this photo. Now, it is a pleasure to share with all of you that there will be one another special matchmaking in November. The information will be revealed on the B2Match platform. Don't forget to click on the link to register. We hope you enjoy today, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.